Deep in the heart of Pennsylvania, there's a place where whispers still carry the weight of old curses, and where the shadows of the past refuse to fade. I'm Lee.
And I'm B. Hex Hollow, where superstition, folk magic, and brutal murder blur the lines between legend and reality. Was it fear that drove men to kill, or something more sinister?
Tonight, we unravel the dark history of Hex Hollow and the lingering presence that some say still haunts the land.
You might think you know the story, but the truth is buried deeper than you'd expect. A window into Pennsylvania's superstitious past. The Hex murder of 1928 wasn't just a crime, it was a moment where old world beliefs collided with modern America. It revealed that even in the 20th century, some communities still feared curses, hexes, and folk magic. The Hex murder of 1928 in York County, Pennsylvania, has been the subject of various historical documentation and analysis. Nelson Rehmeyer was murdered on the night of November 27, 1928, in his home in Rehmeyer's Hollow, Pennsylvania. He was attacked by John Blymeyer, Wilbert Hess, and John Curry, who believed Rehmeyer had cursed Blymeyer and was responsible for his misfortunes. He was beaten and strangled to death. The attackers bludgeoned him with a blunt object, possibly a chair leg or a piece of wood. They then attempted to set his body on fire, likely to destroy the supposed curse they believe he had placed on Blymeyer. However, the fire did not spread significantly. John Blymeyer, a struggling powwow practitioner, believed he had been cursed after experiencing a streak of bad luck and illness. Another powwower told him that Nelson Rehmeyer was responsible, reinforcing his fears. Blymeyer and two accomplices decided that the only way to break the hex was to steal Rehmeyer's bellbook and a lock of his hair. When the plan failed, they brutally murdered him instead.
It says Blymeyer consulted a witch in Marietta and Lancaster County,
Yeah.
who pointed to Nelson Rehmeyer as the culprit behind his bad luck. And then Hess, whose family was going through a bad streak, was also sought to break the spell. So maybe his accomplices thought that if the spell was broken on him, it would be broken on them because all three of them are doing it together.
Yeah, so it would break all their hexes.
Yes. And Blymeyer.
The one thing, I don't know, I just feel like I want to talk. The one thing I found interesting is that I feel like they wanted someone to blame, and he went and visited this witch. And I don't know how close Marietta is to
Rehmeyer and Blymeyer.
to their town. The town had its own name, but because the Raymeyers owned like 90 acres of land, that the town was basically named after them, even though it wasn't the official name of the town. So I was like, so that means like a lot of people know who this family is because they own so much land and they all practice powwow. So I kind of felt like this witch was just trying to, I don't know, gain power. I believe in magic, though that sounds weird to say. But it's like, it's 1928. What are you killing for? What was her goal?
She didn't tell him to kill him. She
She
said,
didn't. She said to get a lock of his hair and to burn his spell book. But did they, did she really think? No, I feel like she knew what she was doing. Did you really think he was just going to be okay with giving you his spell book to burn? Like, I would have literally asked her, would you be okay if I took your spell book and burned it? No, you would not.
Yeah.
That's your grimoire. To me, from everything I've ever seen, heard, read, anything, a spell book is sacred. And they're
Yeah.
supposed to be passed down through family members. And even big people who are in a family, if they get a hold of your spell book, like, you'll be cursed. So it's like, for her to go and say, yeah, just because I think if they were like, oh, just a piece of his hair, I honestly think that if they would have went to him and said, hey, I kind of feel like you cursed me, can I get a piece of your hair? He would have gave it to them.
But that's not all they were seeking.
Exactly. You wanted something that was relative to his power. And when I was watching the documentary and the one guy who was like, we practice powwow, or it's also called brachiri, I think it says. And brachiri, they don't do any hexes. There are no curses, there are no hexes. You can't use it in a bad way.
Hmm.
Only witchcraft. And then he had another word that he used, which it says like they do brachiri and theirs is called like hexchery, and that's where they get the word hex from. And only witches can put hexes on people. So then I was like, well, then is this witch the one who put the hex on these people? And she used them to do her dirty work, which sounds so weird because it's 1928. It seems we're too far up in time to think that way, but I don't know how developed that far Pennsylvania was. Because even now, when you drive through Pennsylvania, Philly is such a vibrant city. And then so is like Westchester and Plymouth and everything like that. But once you start going west to like towards Harrisburg and Pittsburgh and all those, it does kind of seem more farm and country, that their thinking not develop as quickly as how people who lived in Philly did. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you live in these little country towns, everything is slow, so you stay stuck in your mindset.
Yeah, and I'm sure their schooling is different and they're being taught by different types or different mindsets of people as well, where you have like a public school kinds of
Yeah.
institution to teach kids certain things from certain types of books. Theirs is probably like a small schoolhouse. Maybe it's like somebody from church or some, like
Yeah.
I don't know how the kids are being taught, what they're being taught, and what
Well,
types of books they're being taught from.
like back then, these people owned 90 acres of land, and that was almost the whole town. I would think these people would have been such big deals that you would not want to cross them. So you go to a whole other town, you talk to this witch, and you believe that the way the documentary made it sound, it was like they were the most important people in this town.
Well, he was important because people were lined up at his door for
But they made it seem like they were
white
important
magic.
because not him specifically, but the family. Because they said it was three brothers who originally bought 90 acres of land. So each section was owned by a brother, and this guy's just one person. But because then it says like his wife and kids left him too.
She didn't like all the powwowing.
It sounds so fake. Powwowing.
Yeah, she
What
wasn't
happened?
into that. She wasn't into the powwowing, and she probably didn't like all the people coming in and out of the house since they did have two young daughters. So
Mhm.
she went back to her house that she grew up in to live there, which was, not that far from him.
Yeah.
So
Which
it didn't seem like they were divorced. It just
she just
seemed
wanted
like
space.
yeah, they were just living in separate
Which
places.
is probably a good thing, 'cause what would have happened if her and the 2 kids were there?
Yeah, and then you said something about the witch wanted him to burn the book. I think it was bury the book, the hair and a book, and bury it 6 feet in the ground. And because he wasn't giving that
You're right.
book, they ended up hitting him.
Mhm.
And then I think when they killed him, they're like, "Oh, we got to get rid of the evidence," and that's when they burned the body.
But
But luckily, something doused the fire, and the whole house didn't burn down.
yeah, it said it didn't work. But I still don't see how she thought that telling them to get his spell book, the spell book, I think they would have been able to do discreetly, because I know they all went to church on Sundays, because they still were Christians, so they still went to church. But
I think
also
she had another agenda. Since they're both if she's doing witchcraft and he's doing powwow,
yeah.
people are probably lining up at his door and not hers. So now she doesn't
Yeah.
have business to help people in any way that she can. That's money away from her. I don't know if he was charging. I don't know if he was doing it for free. I have no clue, like, if it was a business or not a business. But maybe
I think
her thinking, "This guy, he's gonna believe anything I say because he is down on his luck. Let me
yeah.
try to get rid of this guy," for myself, for her own.
I think it was a business. I don't think he did it for free, because even like, I don't know, maybe grandson or great nephew or whatever, whoever's in the documentary who is related, he was talking about making charms and charms of protection and luck for travel. And he was selling these charms. But I found it interesting because it was talking about when they were doing the ritual.
I would say energy work. That's what it looked like
Yeah.
to me.
It was reminding me of Reiki.
Yeah.
But then when I started looking into it, I was like, it's not the same because this one, powwow, is based off of more religious energy.
Prayer, the power of words.
Yeah. And Reiki is also energy work, but I think when I was looking it up, it says based off of Japanese practice.
Mhm.
So, but when he was doing the whole, like, relieving the guy of a headache,
Mhm.
and he was like that, he doesn't touch their physical body, he only touches their energetic body.
Like their aura, where your aura would be.
Yeah, because I took some quotes down that he was saying that powwow is a form of Christianity. They believe they are conduits to God's power in healing through prayer, the power of spoken word, laying of the hands, but there isn't any actual physical touch, the touching of the body's energetic body.
It's also the power of words, like, you could drink because he wrote a prayer in, like,
Mhm.
chocolate syrup, and then he poured
Yes,
water over it in a glass, and then you're supposed to
yes,
drink that whole thing, like, in one sitting.
yes, but
And I think in my culture, like, I have heard of that where somebody would say a prayer in water. You know how you like, I heard the power of water. If you say if you pray on water, whatever you wanna manifest and you drink it like it's supposed to, like,
Tony
manifest.
prays on every bottle, glass, water
Yeah.
I hand him, he prays on it.
And it could be any drink. Like, first, I never knew if you could do it on
Well, I should say
coffee,
that. It's
juice, it is
well,
any kind of
any
liquid.
drink, anything he puts in his body, he says a prayer.
Yeah.
It could be a candy bar, he will pray on it.
But then that's the power of water because I've also read and heard things where if you are sitting at dinner and someone is angry or had a stressful day, they say not to eat with them because their words and their energy is literally poisoning your food as you are eating it. And instead of it doing good for you, it's actually harming you
Well, you know what's
because of
funny?
the energy around the person.
I was watching something years ago, and it was this like, really big Italian family, and the grandmom and grandpa were from Italy, but they live here in the US, but they still do a lot of, like, Italian practices when it comes to food, and they do a harvest every year, and they do the crushing of the tomatoes to make their sauce, their gravy, and I don't know why, because it was really only the women. They asked the women specifically, because I guess they were the ones mainly doing the work. They would be the ones handling the tomatoes, what their mindset was, if any of them were on their period, were any of them fighting with anyone? Because if they weren't allowed to help make the sauce
Mhm. Yep.
because that would go into the sauce and it would make it bitter. And I found that interesting because I was like, do they really believe that? Or did it happen one too many times and that's where they, like, put the blame on? Because I was like, that's interesting.
Like praying before you eat, when a family does that, you're basically doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You are praying over your food, just giving it some good energy before you consume it.
Yeah, but then also believing that the person who created the food, if they have bad energy, can affect the taste of it.
Yeah, like if I'm angry while I'm cooking, that is poisoning the food.
Mhm.
Oh, better watch out, Jay. Don't piss me off.
Honestly, Tony, when I'm angry at him and I cook, he'll be like, "Can you taste it first?" I be like, "Why?" He's like, "I don't know. I feel like you so mad you might poison it." And then I'll taste it. He's like, "You probably took the antidote."
Well, he can prayer over it and then eat it if he
I'm
doesn't
like,
believe
"You
it.
you can learn to cook for yourself."
Yeah.
My baby's eating the same food. I'm not gonna hurt him.
But you are hurting his cells, without knowing. You gotta cook with a good mind. That's why people say this was cooked with love,
Yeah.
because they did it in a loving way when they were cooking it. They had love poured into it.
Spanish people or, like, Puerto Rican people will say, when it's cooked with, like, so much love and it's so good, we say, like, we put our foot in it, which sounds gross,
Mhm.
but it's like it's so good because I put my foot in it. Like I put so much work into that.
Yeah.
I said that once to the baby and Tony, and they were like, "Literally?" I said,
You better
"No,
you better take them toes out of my food, that's all I know.
no." I'm just
And
saying
then
that's
that's
how
so
good it
cute.
is.
But
Huh?
this story shows you, like, just the power of the mind, like, you can just tell somebody that they're hexed, and they believe it, and they hex themselves.
Yeah,
Just believing it, just believing that you have bad luck,
yeah.
because
That's
you're
the
manifesting it
excuses.
to yourself. Exactly.
But I do think people can hex you.
See, I believe that too, and then I start seeing things that says, if you don't know someone is hexing you, it won't happen to you because it's not in your mind.
I
So if
don't
someone says, I'm gonna hex you, I'm putting a hex on you," then I'm thinking about it all the time, "Oh my god, they're gonna put a hex on
see,
me."
I don't I don't necessarily believe that only because I think if a hex is I think if someone strongly hates you
Their intention has to be that strong to actually affect you.
because there was a time where I had a lot of bad luck back to back, a lot. And I didn't think anything of it. Honestly, I did not. It was my mom and someone else who told me, "I think you're cursed." And I was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened." Like, and I'm talking about in a matter of weeks, like a bunch of bad stuff. And I said, "Oh." My mom was like, "You need to go to church. You need to go get blessed. I think you're hexed. Like, I think you're cursed." And the thing is, I didn't even think about that being a thing until she said it. And once she said it, I knew who did it. And then from that point on, I was just trying to combat it. And that's when I started doubling up on my evil eyes and church and holy water. I slowly overcame it.
Mhm.
But I do believe, like, even, like, when you're angry with somebody and you wish bad on someone, I think that's a type of curse. Like, there will
Yeah,
be
I'm not
times
sure. Now, like, lately haven't I'm not sure about what I believe when it comes to that. If someone can hex you and it work without you knowing, or if you have to know that you're being hexed in order for it to work because
I
you're
think
gonna bring
it's
it onto
someone
yourself.
that's true, but I think if someone hates you enough and there were times when I was so angry, I would wish hate and I would literally, like, calm myself down and take it back because I do believe words have power.
Karma.
Yeah, and I would take it back because I was like, "I can't wish that hate." That's what's like,
That's why
hate
you wished them to be healed for whatever trauma they have that they hate on you so much. That's what you have to wish, because then that comes back to you.
and
And
I know
sometimes that's really hard to do when you can't stand that person, to wish something good on them.
it is very hard to wish. I did, and I would wish nothing but the best, and Tony would be like, "You're so weird that you could do that." And I'm like
You have to find it inside yourself and pull
even
that out.
even the baby the other day, we were talking and I was telling him, and he's like, "You are one of a kind." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "'Cause no one thinks like you." He's like, "I don't understand. Is that an insult?" He's like, "No, but why are you being so nice?" I was like, "It doesn't pay you to be any other way." Can I be petty? Yes. Anybody can. Will it feel good to be petty? Yes.
Absolutely.
But that feeling doesn't last. It's like a momentary triumphant, you know? You're like, you get that moment of, yeah, bitch. But then I feel like when time passes, I start to feel bad. Cause I was
That's
like,
because 'cause you're thinking about it.
yeah. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
should,
you have to not think about it. After you're petty, you have to not think about it. You won and it's over.
yeah.
Yeah, so this murder is a lot to do with the power of your mind, energy, how quickly people will believe that they're cursed and do anything to break it, really.
But what I find so sad is because one, I didn't know Blymer practiced powwow. But for me, if you're someone who practiced and you know powwow is a healing and protection practice. It's almost like it's like a separate sect of religion, why would you think that someone in your powwow community could even hex you?
Because he wasn't very smart.
I know.
Even, like,
Yeah.
his family
No,
member
I get
said
that. They all said that. And
but
he had
even, like, the family member, the one person asked them, like, interviewed them and said, "Does mental illness run in your family?" He said,
yes,
"Yes, my son." I had to
his
admit
son.
him.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he got angry real quick, so I'm wondering if it was, like, bipolar or something.
It's giving me bipolar. It's also giving me schizophrenic because I think he was also seeing and hearing things.
Yeah, so Bymir was going through a lot more
Yeah.
than anybody probably knows. And him
Yes.
to quickly number 1, for him to even go to a witch to see what's happening with his bad luck,
Yeah.
and then to believe it so quickly to someone that he knows. He knows this person. It's
Yeah.
not like he just knows of him. It's not like he just heard his name somewhere. He knows
I
who this
wonder
man
I
is.
wonder if he thought that because he left his little town, he went to Marietta, it's a whole other town. How could this witch know this guy? Like, how could she know him to name Nelson Rehmeyer? Like, she must have power to say this name. But I think the Rehmeyers were important people, and any surrounding town, they would know who they are.
Well known, and if she's doing witchcraft,
Yeah.
they're a community. They
Yep.
probably know everybody in the community that does some kind of white or black magic. Whatever type of magic you're doing, whatever type of healing, spiritual healing you're doing, people know each other.
Yeah.
So she probably is like, "Oh, I want this guy out of here." That's what I'm seeing it like.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to tell just a rando, "Oh, so and so is doing black magic on you. Go steal his stuff, bury it,
Now, the moment
cut his hair."
the moment I heard that, and like she said that he had to do these things, I knew instantly, like,
Mhm.
she's doing to self-serve herself.
Yeah.
That she didn't come up with that out of nowhere. I think she did that because it must mean something to do that. To take his spell book, because again, taking his hair and burying it, that's not a big deal. I feel like that wouldn't have been a big deal. Honestly, I think you could have asked him for his hair. But to take his spell book, to take his, which is like, honestly, because it's connected so strongly to religion, it's probably their type of Bible, that was not going to be okay. That was going to cause a fight unless you stole it when he wasn't around, but knowing him, it was probably always with him. I feel like that'd be something you would carry with you.
And knowing Blymere and that 18-year-old was a Hess and a 14-year-old, um,
Children.
they probably don't even know what this book looks like.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? So they have to tell him, "Where's this book? Give it to us." So if this guy even went out and they broke into the house, what are they even looking for? Do
Yeah,
they even know what
you
they're
had to be
looking
smart
for?
about it. You had to like go to
Yeah,
him for some powwow healing,
exactly. See what
see
he's
him take his
using.
book.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, oh,
Where he puts it back.
yeah,
You gotta do a recon.
yeah.
Then go back.
I
I mean,
tell,
they went there twice. They went there first to talk to him, shoot the shit. Then they went back to get a hair and the book. So they went there twice. And the first time they went, they asked the wife, "Hey, blah, blah, blah. We're looking for, him. Do you know where he is?" So that's why when that happened, she automatically knew who did it and they went to the cops. And the funny thing is, when the cops asked them, "Did you do it?" They said yes. There was no denying. They're like, "Yeah, he did black magic on me." Like, of course. He
yeah,
he
they
put a
thought it
hex
would
on
be like
me.
no problem.
Yeah, he put a hex on me, so we had to take care of it. Thinking the cops are gonna say, "Oh, yeah, you're right. This is a legitimate reason to kill somebody. You're free to go." No, dude. You're going to court and you're going to jail. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Like, this is how smart this man was. He thought that he was gonna get away with saying, "Yes, he put a hex on me. Of course I'm gonna kill him." That's the funny part. But,
It
I
is the funny
mean,
part. I'm like, dude, if it was 100 years sooner,
Mhm,
yeah, yeah, you would have got away with it. 100%.
mhm.
It was just 1800s. Yes, kill these witches.
Yeah,
Kill
and
them.
even though they got, life
1928. What is you doing with your life?
even though they got life, they still came out and were able to live their life. They didn't really, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think life back then, I swear, was only like 25 years or something.
If that, yeah. And being a 14-year-old boy, like, I don't know, that's so young.
And I think that too is because doing research, I've heard of powwow before. I couldn't understand how I heard of powwow
Native American.
because it was German American folk healing, but it does share the same name with Native American powwow, which it says it's completely a different type of thing. Also, powwow is also a term. Like you could have a powwow. It's a
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
together. But no, I found it interesting. One, it's still highly practiced in their town,
Mhm.
and they have a lot of practitioners still. It looks like they have their own church. It's still a Christian church.
Even before the cops found out, like, who did it, dude goes to the supermarket and talks to the other dude and says, "Are you going to school, this and that?" Dude's like, "Yeah, I'm going to school for computers." He's like, "Good. Don't do it. I don't waste your life like I did." He's like, "Oh, what did you do?" "Oh, I killed a man." So he was already telling people what he did. This is his mental state, that he really thought that he didn't do anything wrong, that what he did was correct and justified. I thought it was a real hex put on that guy, like a real true hex put on. So I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be, cool, like, a hex, like, I wanna do the research on the hex." No, it has nothing to do with the hex.
Even
The
if it wasn't not even that for me, to me, I didn't even really think a hex actually was placed on him. I was like, "Oh, he probably thinks a hex was put on him," but I thought the hex that he thought would be put on him was gonna be way worse than what was
Yeah, it
actually
was
happening in his life,
it was just a suggestion that you are hexed. I
and
thought there was gonna be more into the hex, like there was an actual ritual that was done, there was some, we could, like, go in depth in
it
about the
felt
hex.
it felt so anticlimactic.
Yeah, even when I watched the documentary, I'm like, "Well, I understand it is interesting, but it's all just the power of the mind, really, that's what it
It
is."
is, it is. It was power of mind, and, like, how the one guy said, it's like, "We don't believe that we're God, we just believe that we" and I understand what he was saying because it's like, "Oh, I believe that," but as parishioners, we also have as humans, we also have that same theoretical power of connection to God that he could work through us as well if we wanted to or believed it strongly enough. Like in the Bible, when Jesus walks on water, he does tell the apostles that we all can walk on water. You just have to believe you can. And Peter does walk on water until he realizes that he's actually walking on water. And then he panics and he falls through.
Yeah, he's like, "This is impossible what I'm doing." Boom,
Yes.
it's
So
broken.
it's like we all can have that connection. We probably all we do sauna when like something hurts in the body, stomach ache, a headache, anything, we'll do sauna, which is I guess a spell and energy work. And it will be like it's healing you through love, loving energy. Like, me and Tony were like, if you don't mean it, then it won't work.
Yeah, your intention has to be pure. But
It is
just
why
because this powwow person is called saying that this witch is bad and it does black. Not all witches do that. Not all witches are bad.
no.
Not all witches put black magic or hexes on people. Like, there's a lot of good witches out there that does white magic and they do witchcraft, energy work. You know what I mean?
Well, I felt like the one guy, he wasn't trying to, like, blame any witch or anything. I think he was just trying to explain the difference between powwow and anything else. He was more saying, like, with powwow, you can't perform hexes. You can't wish bad energy. So he was saying, like, they don't have that power to do that, which I think is false. I think anyone has any
Mhm.
time. If you're dealing with energy, yeah, you might have specific prayers and phrases and wording for a lot of the healing stuff, and you don't have wording or phrases for anything with bad intention, but not everything with bad intention needs to be worded a
Mhm.
specific way.
Yeah,
You
I
can
just
say
don't want to put a bad name on witchcraft. Because I know there
No.
is witchcraft communities and they're all good people. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I don't think that either. I think also everything's not black and white. There's also a gray area, and it's also on a person's intent.
Yes. I think
Just with
intent
anything.
has the biggest thing. Like, I think intent is the biggest thing that is in this story.
Mhm,
You have good intent or bad intent, and it's what you believe as well that brings that forth to you in your life as well.
mhm.
You're my friend. I have good intentions with you always. You know what I mean? But if you're not my friend and you do something to me, my intentions are not going to be good towards you and what I think about you. So it's better to just, for me, is ignore that person
Yeah,
instead of having bad intentions on people because then that's going to manifest in my own life, me thinking about it all the time, how much I hate this person. And now I'm creating a bad atmosphere for myself.
and I
So,
think that's in any religion or culture. It's like more like not even witchcraft, it's more like Wicca. Every powwow, voodoo, they all have it's all energy, and even prayer itself with mainstream religions. I think mass prayer in any like religion also holds a power. I think if there was someone sick and they went to church and there's like 200 people in the church and they did a mass prayer to help heal this person, I think it would help. It might not cure them, but I think it would ease their pain.
you know why? Because it changes that person's mindset as well.
Mhm.
That's the thing too. You have to change your mindset, how you are thinking about your pain, your life, your relationship, whatever is in your life. It's
Yeah,
what your mindset is. If you're in a negative mindset, yes, you're gonna feel more pain and you're gonna get sicker and sicker and sicker. But
yeah,
once you change that mindset into some type of positivity and try to ignore all the bad, then things slowly start falling into place and starts to get better. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So if I know that this whole church, this 200 people is praying for my healing, I'm going to think that I'm going to be healed, which
yeah.
is changing my mindset about my sickness.
Or even to the point where it's like, all these people want me to be healed,
Yeah,
so
like
I will
love
be
me.
healed.
Yeah.
Like, it's the power of suggestion. So, I still think about and I've never looked into it, like, when Tony was telling me that when 9/11 happened and all the people were praying, that the Earth's vibration changed that day
Hmm.
because of
Yeah.
the mass amount of prayer. And I said, "Yeah, but even if you think about that, that mass amount of prayer, everyone was praying differently."
Yeah.
It's time for the tarot card of the week, where we draw a card to guide us through the days ahead. What insights, warnings, or mysteries will the deck reveal this time? Let's shuffle and see what the cards have in store. This week's tarot card is Page of Wands upright, which means inspiration, ideas, discovery, limitless potential, free spirit. With the Page of Wands, you are inclined to give anything and everything a go. You embrace the opportunity to start out on a new journey or project and see where it takes you. You do not necessarily have a solid plan in place, nor do you really know where you are headed, but you are excited about the possibilities. You have a gift for dreaming up new creative ideas, unfettered by the burdens of everyday life. Nothing will get in the way of your dreams. And while the appearance of the Page of Wands indicates that you are experiencing creative restlessness, notice that the page is standing still and his staff is firmly planted on the ground. He is not going anywhere just yet. You still need to take your creative spark and ground it down into reality so that it is ready to be implemented in the physical realm. You may need to map out your strategy, or you may need to test your ideas or create a few experiments before committing. It could be helpful to run your thoughts through a filter so that you only act on those most aligned with your broader goals. And that's it. We were just talking about another idea, which is weird.
Yeah. At least this is a good card.
It is. We've only had one bad card.
Yeah, but it was a bad, bad one.
Yeah,
When it's bad, it's bad.
it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny.
Which I
Any
didn't
thought?
play the lottery after the last one, the star card I should have played, but I did not. So I'm not a multimillionaire yet.
It's always to me, it's always people who don't need that money that win.
I know, right? Or like you're 90 and then you hit it.
Yeah. Which I don't
You're
know.
just people that just play for fun win.
Well, that's like how do people like there's people who live off scratch off.
Yeah. Well, they're buying like $30 scratch offs.
Yeah,
So you
but they
spend
can
big, you win big.
yeah, like those you get $1,000 a week for life. I'm like,
Mhm.
that ain't
Mhm.
it. I
No.
mean, after taxes, how much am I really getting?
Probably $500 if that.
I'd rather have
Or I think I've seen, my lottery dream house or something, and that one person did win 1,000 for life, but they had an option to cash out, and they were gonna give them 7 mil. So he cashed out for 7 mil, and then after taxes, whatever's left. But
well, they always say the people who win the lottery and they get those houses, my lottery dream home, is that what it's called?
yeah.
They say they never keep those houses. They interviewed the guy who hosts that show. He said they actually don't keep the houses. They buy it to rent it out or
I mean, makes sense. You need investments to keep the money going. But there was one guy that actually bought a house that was not crazy, probably $250,000, because he wanted to use the rest of the money to just chill with and not spend it all on the house. He cut his own lawn. He did all that. And his neighbors were a couple old ladies that would come over and they would have wine together and dinner. So, I mean, he just lived like a regular life with that money because he wanted it to last. Where normally this my lottery dream house, they go big.
no, I want
I just want something decent,
yes.
more modern than what I have.
And in my dream location.
Mhm.
Like
Dream
that's really what I want.
location. I want my dream kitchen.
Yeah. And
That's important.
master suite.
Yes. Hex Hollow stands as a chilling reminder that fear, belief, and the unknown can be a dangerous combination. Stories become warnings, whispers turn to legends, and sometimes the darkness isn't just a trick of the light.
Was it paranoia, witchcraft, or something far more unsettling? Truth and myth blur in the shadows, but one thing remains certain.
So stay vigilant, stay aware, stay awake, because not all shadows are harmless. Bye.
Bye. I got so confused for a second.